Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live, like every Wednesday at 11 in the morning. Good morning, Orlando. Buenos días, ¿cómo
You
estás?
said like every Wednesday, not as every Wednesday.
Oh my
What
God, we
made you
started with
change?
the we started with the English classes now.
Good morning, everybody. Delighted that you're able to join us. Lots going on, right?
A lot of going on, yeah.
So
How's
let's.
rodeo?
Rodeo is great. I saw a 92-point bull ride yesterday.
Oh wow,
Amazing bull ride.
wow.
Um,
Well, it's a very, everybody is going to the rodeo, after 2 years. It's been a very exciting
right,
time.
right.
And they have a lot of new things, restaurants, food
Yes,
trucks,
yes.
new things that we didn't have before.
Our friend Ben Berg opened up a restaurant. I went to it last night. It's called The Ranch.
Oh,
Yeah, it was packed.
over there.
At the rodeo grounds between NRG and the Astrodome.
It's not
But not
the
everybody watching is from Houston.
no, well, of course,
But
but we have the biggest rodeo. So,
we have the biggest rodeo. It goes on for about 3 weeks, and it's a charity organization. So they give away hundreds of millions of dollars of scholarships to kids from Texas.
correct. And it's gonna end this weekend, I believe,
It
right?
ends the rodeo competition ends Saturday, and then on Sunday it's George Strait. Only a concert, not a rodeo.
Oh, okay.
Are
Good
you
to
gonna
know.
go see? Are you gonna go see George?
My kid's gonna go, so probably if you invite me,
I'm not.
you have.
Well,
you, okay, that means that you're taking somebody else.
no, no, I'm not going.
Oh, you're not
No.
going.
But let's get back on track. We have a lot going on, right? We have our Tough Tejano Awards at the Mays Museum, the Whitty Center in San Antonio, April 5th, beginning at 11 or 11:30 in the morning.
Correct.
We are on the verge of selling out the event, and let me tell you why. We have a comedian from Houston by the name of Chingo Bling. Chingo has about 1.5 million followers, and he's extremely popular. He's going to be entertaining us during lunch. And then yesterday we got contacted by the governor's office, and the governor heard about Tough Tejano in San Antonio. So our special guest on April 5th in San Antonio will be the governor. So for those of you watching us in San Antonio, make sure you go to toughtejano.com and purchase your table or buy your ticket. We're selling both tables and tickets. And Henry Bonilla and Hope Andrade and Charlie Amato are the chairs of the event. Silver Eagle Distributing, John Now out of San Antonio, has been a generous table sponsor, so it's really going well.
I know I'm very excited, but I wanted you to tell the story why these Tough Tejano Awards. At TLC has been doing Tough Tejano Awards, but this year is very special because last year the legislation passed the Tejano Day.
Legislature.
Legislature.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have been focusing on the contributions that Tejanos have made in Texas since the 1800s. Of course, you know that in the 1800s, Texas was part of Mexico. And the Mexicans living north of the Rio Grande weren't getting the services. They believed that they were being taxed, but El DF, Mexico City, was just taking their money and not providing them anything. And Tejanos actually started the movement to get Texas to become an independent, and in 1813 declared Texas independent. But it wasn't until 1836 that we became independent. And then the Tejanos that have lived here since the 1800s, thousands and thousands of families, have made tremendous contributions to the liberty and the freedom, not only of the Republic of Texas, but then Texas when it became part of the Union. And so we have felt here at TLC that Tejanos aren't recognized enough, particularly in our public education system. So we set out last year to pass legislation known as a concurrent resolution, both in the Senate and the House, to have the first Tejano Day in Texas, which is April 6th every year. And last legislative session, the governor signed the recognition making April 6th Tejano Day in Texas. So this year, April 5th, on the eve of Tejano Day, we're going to San Antonio. We're going to award the Tough Tejano Award that we've done every year, except the COVID years. And we'll be in San Antonio. So if you're interested in attending and meeting a lot of great leaders in Texas, like Henry Bonilla and Hope Andrade and Charlie Amato and the governor, and seeing Chingo Bling and enjoying a great meal and seeing Andrea. She's going to be quite the attraction. Join us at the Whitty Center on April 5th, about 11 o'clock in the morning. All the information is at toughtejano.com.
That sounds like a circus. Like, oh, and go and see Andrea.
Yeah, she'll be outside. She'll be the sideshow. Anyway, and then beyond that, we wanted to continue the celebration of our Tejanos and do our part to highlight Tejano music. As you know, Tejano music is a combination of, a little bit of Mexican norteño music, a little bit of German music, a little bit of Texas country western music. And it's all combined into Tejano
Y también
music.
tiene un poco de cumbia. De
Un
Colombia.
poco, pero no
Sí.
mucho.
Bueno.
Yeah, don't get the Colombians in there.
Un poquito.
But anyway, so on Cinco de Mayo, for those of you that aren't Spanish speakers, on May 5th, we are bringing in Gary Hobbs, a very famous Tejano band out of Eagle Pass, Texas, and Maverick County. And we will be at the West Wind Club on Gun, Guhn, Gun Road. And the concert will be from 7 to 10. And so we've booked Gary Hobbs. Tickets will be free. You'll have to go to our website.
And register. Only need to register.
Request a ticket.
Yeah.
You have to download a ticket to attend the free event. You'll have be given 2 complimentary adult beverages. You'll be able to enjoy and dance to the tunes of Gary Hobbs. And we're going to have a lot of other famous local Houston Tejanos. So if you want to join us, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, at the West Wind on Gun Road, make sure you go to our website, TexasLatinoConservatives.com. I don't think the link is up yet. We hope to have it up tonight or tomorrow so you can download your ticket. It's a free event. You'll get 2 adult beverages, and we have Miller Distributors as our sponsors. So that's going on.
Cinco de Mayo is, just to clarify, it's not the Mexican Independence Day, but...
It's not.
It's not.
I think it's an American-made,
Yeah, just to drink margaritas and beer. And,
drink margaritas
and just
and
have
beer.
fun. But last March 1st, we had our primaries. And so today we're going to have one of the candidates that made it for the runoff, and he is our dear friend, Mano DeAyala, that he is the candidate for Texas State Representative District 133. He made it for the runoff, and we also at TLC, we are endorsing him and supporting him. So welcome, Mano, bienvenido. Y pues felicitaciones. Y queremos que nos cuentes, we want you to tell us about that experience and that campaign and going to the runoff, and what is the plan for now till May 24th?
He's like a rodeo bull rider. He came out of the chute pretty strong.
I know.
He had a good ride. So, hey, welcome, Manu. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you guys for having me. Love the show. Love what you guys do. Looking forward to Tough Tejano Day. And that, what a score having the governor come. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, and it'll be a real special if you show up. We hope you're there.
I'm planning on it. You were saying you're almost sold out, so we got to hurry.
Yes, you need to hurry.
Well, we'll be there.
Okay, good.
So Andrea, what you were saying is yes. It's one of those things. You can plan service, but you can't plan a campaign, because in a race like this, the incumbent Jim Murphy announced he wasn't seeking re-election, and that started the ball rolling. So we did, just like you said, Orlando. We came out of the chute. We came out very strong, and a ton of support. This district is this West Houston district where I have basically grown up and lived my whole life, and met my bride, my sweetheart, in high school, and we came back and raised our kids there. So this is all home for us, and the support that we had just as we came out was really overwhelming and humbling, and we just built on that, and good policy, and good experience, and letting people get to know who I am and what I stand for. Really did well. So we're happy with getting in the runoff, and what's the saying? You don't ask someone who's just run a marathon, "Are you ready to run another marathon?" But that's what the runoff is another marathon. So,
But I got to tell you something. I was talking to a dear friend of mine that I invited to the Houston Rodeo the other night. You probably know him, Joseph McReynolds, the Spring Branch Republicans. And
mhm.
we were talking about politics because we both enjoy that topic. And Joseph said that the runoff is like the calf scramble at the rodeo, right? You got to go find your calf, rope it, and drag it back into the middle of the arena to win. And that's exactly
Right.
what a runoff is. You guys, it's going to be a very low turnout race. So you guys are going to have to walk the neighborhoods, work the phones, send out a lot of texts, and literally get your voters to the polls.
So the first, the primary election had 80 plus races on the ballot. This one will you can count on one hand. So it's going to be a short ballot. Lines are going to be short. And if anyone's out there listening in House District 133, no lines, easy in and out, get out and vote. But yeah, that's exactly what we have to do. Is we have to get our message out. We had 5 candidates in this race, and now we're down to 2. So there's a lot of folks who have already made their mind up with one candidate, and we need to reach out to them and let them know what our vision and our mission and our history and our backgrounds are, and hopefully win their vote.
Have
There's a
you?
lot of things about
Uh,
there's a lot of things about campaigning that I could do without, but there's a lot of campaigning that I like, and the one-on-one at the door with voters and listening to what matters to people and being able to share, what matters to me and why I think I can help in an issue here or there. That's awesome. I wish everyone could experience that. It's really a neat experience.
yeah. Have
I was
hang
gonna
on. Let
talk.
me one quick
Okay.
question. I'm gonna let you in. Have you spoken to the other candidates that didn't make the runoff, and how many of those have endorsed you, Mano?
Well, yes, I've spoken to all of them, and I've known them for a long time, and they're very familiar to me. There are going to be public endorsements, and I'm going to let those play out when they do. But yes, I have had support from the other candidates.
Good.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
ask you. You were talking about campaigning and 101 experience, and we know that these days is different. That when Orlando used to campaign for a city council member or for mayor, because these days we have not only the traditional media, but we have the social media. But still, the 101 is still one of the, I think, the one that made the most impact. So, what is being the challenge for you, and how is it going to be for now till May for you campaigning? Because we know that it's already a challenge to take people to go and vote on the primaries, and it's a triple of challenge to take people to go and vote on the runoffs.
right. So the old saying, and Orlando knows this very well. There's 2 ways to run: uh, scared and hard, right? And so that's how you have to run. Every person you uh, approach and talk to, number one, it means so much to them that you made the effort to go and talk to them about the things that matter to you and to hear what matters to them. So that's the first step: showing up. You got to show up. Um, there were times just because of my workload in this campaign that I wasn't able to show up as much as I wanted to. There's I have none of those issues now. So we are showing up, and I've got a great team around me. I got great support. The overwhelming uh, reach that I had after the primary of our supporters coming out. How can I help? Can I block walk? Can I do phone calls? Do you need money? Do you all whatever it was? It was overwhelming. So uh, we are positive that we're going to be gaining a lot of the support from the voters of the 3 candidates who didn't make it. Um, Based on our understanding, we were their second choice. So things look very good. We just have to execute and take nothing for granted and go run and win our race.
Well, as
So,
one of our endorsed candidates, obviously we're very proud of you, and we're going to be back in there to help you. One of the things that I think we do well at TLC is the ground game. So we're looking forward to organizing some block walks with your team, and sort of buttressing of your operations and reinforcing what you're doing, whether it's phone banking, block walking, doing some additional mail. So we look forward to getting you across the finish line. Talk to us a little bit about, now that you've had an opportunity to campaign in the House District 133, because every House
Hmm.
district is a little different from a,
Right.
geopolitical perspective. So what are the issues that you hear people talk about the most? What do you hear at the door? What are moms and dads, families, taxpayers telling you?
Um, Really, what you expect, crime. And again, in different parts of the district, it's more of the top of the list than in others. But we haven't seen 10 years ago some of the issues we're seeing now. 10 years ago, we didn't know we had this risk or vulnerability of the grid. We didn't know we had uh, the extent of a border security issue that we're having. We didn't know uh, that crime could get as bad as it's getting. We didn't know that there was actually going to be a large group of our society that doesn't support and respect our law enforcement.
Hmm.
Those sorts of things and others. But I think crime is at the top of the list. I think we're still talking about making sure that as a country we have a secure border. Um, those are the issues. Again, people like to talk a lot about national issues, but I try to focus more on the ones that are unique to the state. So those are the ones that I'm mentioning.
One of the things that I'm always most proud of, and I always repeat this on the program, what you're seeing right now are either immigrants or children of immigrants.
Hmm.
And I'm going to let Mano tell his story, but as everybody knows, I immigrated here from a communist country in 1962 from Havana, Cuba. Andrea's an immigrant from Colombia. And Mano, I think you have a similar story. So for those that haven't seen you before, why don't you share a little bit of your story?
Sure. So my parents were born and raised and married in Cuba. My two older brothers were born there. Um, Along came this evil bearded man, Fidel Castro, and my parents were fortunate enough, my two older brothers, to escape. Soon after arriving here, my dad volunteered with what's called at the time Brigade 2506 to fight in the Bay of Pigs invasion to retake their country. When that failed, it became pretty clear to my parents that this was not a temporary place, this was home. And probably like your folks, my folks came with virtually nothing except an education and five sons. Um, I grew up here in West Houston. This community embraced us, gave us a ton of opportunity. Our schools gave us a ton of opportunity, and we are living the American dream. And thanks to um, this country and this opportunity that there's no place on earth that you can have other than this country made that possible. And if you go down the list, we all have college degrees. Three of us have postgraduate degrees, engineers, MBAs, lawyers, doctors. Um, this country been a blessing, and we grew up with that. We grew up knowing that this was a very special place. And so when we see this, what I call uh, this small cancer growing in our country
Hmm.
towards socialism and more communist ideology, and this overreach of the government, it's scary because, as you know, Orlando, we've seen this on steroids. We've seen and heard of indoctrination in schools. You think what's happening in our schools here? It's a big problem here, but it's on steroids in Cuba, and so yeah, we can't let that stuff take root, and that's why growing up, that's always been an issue of mine. Why I've spent so many years working to, grow the conservative group in the Republican Party, help elect great candidates, conservative candidates, and promoting good conservative policies. And that's what you and I've been working on for a long, long time. And you've been in office a long time. This is my first real stab at it, and knock on wood, hopefully I can continue that work in this next chapter in my life. So
Good.
Yeah. So, Mano, tell us, crime is number one, and education for sure. I believe that
Yes.
many families are telling you about this because we're not seeing, as you said very well, it's a cancer that we're seeing in our school districts. So
Right.
tell us about the plan that you planning to address not only on the crime but also in education, and what other issues you are thinking about.
So let me answer that uh, like a lawyer would, and that is long. The answer is, first of all, the state has to do what it's supposed to do. The services and the function the state's supposed to do, we need to do well and efficiently and be good stewards of tax dollars. So when we get to, K through 12 public education, um, we have a lot of issues that are both financial and curriculum. Um, we need to do better to provide curriculum that allows our students to succeed in the next chapters of their lives and their opportunity, whether it's technical education, whether it's military or 2-year schools or 4-year schools. All of it, we need to prepare our students for that. We also need to, where especially in communities where we have poorly performing schools, we need to provide choice. And choice takes um, it has a lot of faces, and one of them is a charter approach. Um, I've been working hard for the last couple of years with a charter school by the name of Heritage Classical Academy, and we've been trying to obtain our charter with the state of Texas. Um, we've done it for 2 years now. The Texas Education Agency keeps approving us, and the state board uh, has not approved us the last 2 years. This is our third year to go through. But this is a specific charter school that's going to start out kindergarten through 8th grade, specifically in an area where all there are failing schools and there are no choices. And geographically, the children in those areas and those families are geographically stuck in failing schools. And if we can provide solutions, options, competition, choices for those families, we ought to be able to do that. And, you know, rising tide lifts all boats. The better the competition, the better the results from a competing school in your neighborhood, the better that public school is going to end up being. So I'm a big believer in school choice. I think I'm hearing that over and over when I knock on doors. Um, and again, that's something that Texas has taken steps to do. We just need to keep going down that path and do it more successfully.
I couldn't
So
agree
that's a
more. You
long.
know, one of the saddest things that government and one of the most tragic things that government can do
Yeah.
is to tax us at the rate they do tax us, because everybody that is a property owner in the state of Texas receives a tax bill, and towards the end of the year that you got to pay by end of February. And if you'll look at that, the highest tax rate is your local school district. And in Houston,
Correct.
we're the third largest school district in the United States, and sadly, Mano, very sadly, many of our schools are failing schools. They have failed at every measurable test that they put them through, and what's sad is that they're condemning those children to a poor life ahead of them because, as you say, without education, it's tough because this world is moving so quickly. Technology is so important. Not everybody, as you mentioned, needs a college degree, but there are opportunities. I, for example, went in the military and gained a lot of good skills. There are plenty
Mhm.
of community colleges, and of course, then there are publicly funded universities. But if these kids aren't prepared to take advantage either of the military, and frankly, I was invited by the U.S. Army about 3 weeks ago to come down to City Hall in the city of Houston and talk about the Army's recruiting effort. And sadly, even the Army says that a huge swath of the Houston, Texas population is ineligible to meet the requirements of entry into the United States Armed Forces. That is an indictment of our public education system. It's not, I don't blame teachers, but the bureaucracy of Texas education has gotten out of control. And when you look at a school district like Houston, and you see the feds invading the administration building and handcuffing, you know, trustees and executives, and accuse them of stealing millions of dollars in the failing schools. I don't know why Houston taxpayers put up with that.
No, I and I don't know, I think you know this, Orlando, but Governor Abbott appointed me a few years ago to the board of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice, which is our prison system. And with it is um, serving as a trustee of what's called the Wyndham School District. And the Wyndham School District is the school district for the prison system. And we have 65,000 participants in that school district. Um, Twice double the size of SBISD Spring Branch Independent School District, which is in my district, my house district. Um, and I say that because if our families and if our schools do a better job of providing opportunity for our students and our children growing up, then I'm going to see fewer students at the Wyndham School District in the prison system. And that's kind of the evolution is, most crime involves character and lack of opportunity, and it's a combination of both. And I don't want to oversimplify it, but if you really look at it, it's character plus opportunity. Uh, as a society, and this is one of the things that we need to be doing well as a state and within our school districts, and that is provide the education that allows for opportunity, the opportunity that I benefited from, the opportunity my brothers benefited from, that you benefited from. So, that's all we can do at the state level and at the school ISD level. Um, and the better job we do that, the fewer students I'm going to see at the Wyndham School District. So that's the idea there.
Yeah, because we're seeing. I mean, it's incredible the lack. You're saying the lack of education and opportunities, and we're seeing more crime in the youth and like the teenagers. We're seeing a lot of crime with them. We're seeing taking this going out of control, and it seems to me that it's a combination between a lack of education and opportunities, not only at the school level and a school district, but also the parents. And
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you guys were raised in a different time, like I did too. And these days, it's like seems like you cannot tell your kids nothing. It's like no discipline.
I
So
think my mother would be arrested for all the time she
oh,
pulled out the
my
belt and
mom
whipped
too.
me.
My mom too. And there will be a bunch of moms in jail.
You know, those Latin moms, they'll get the chancleta or the
Yeah.
cinturón and they'll whip you.
Yeah. So
Heck,
so I think
my,
it's tougher than that. It's deeper than that. The problem that we're seeing because it's not only at the school level but also the parents.
Yeah, and
right.
and Mano, it's sad that the tasks of legislatures, both at the state and federal level, are to fix problems in society, and it's really disappointing to see. For example, at the federal level, we've had an immigration problem in this country since 1986, when Ronald Reagan signed the Immigration Adjustment Act. 1986 was the last time the Congress decided to look at immigration. I don't get
Right.
it. Why when we elect these guys and ladies, they don't go to Washington and fix our problems? Same thing in the legislature of Texas. And this is very disappointing to me that we can actually see that urban education systems are in trouble. They're in trouble in Houston. I know they've had some difficulties in Dallas. Rural and suburban school districts perform much, much better. So I, here's my appeal to you when you get elected. Roll up your sleeves because you come from an urban area and help fix the urban education problems. I think it's a sad commentary for our leadership because the majority of the kids in the school district are minority children. And I don't want to feel like our legislature is walking away from urban minority kids. They deserve as much opportunity as you and I had and everybody else in the state of Texas. So to me, the most important issue facing the state of Texas is educating those urban kids that are now being served by failing schools.
And you bring up a topic that we could spend hours talking about, but I'm going to try to distill it. You know, as conservatives, we believe in local control. We like to have our decisions made locally as much as possible, and so we have a lot of deference there. But when the local decisions are failing our kids, and especially when those decisions um, infringe on our liberties and our freedoms, it is the state's responsibility to step in. The state has to come in and with its oversight perform the function it needs to perform. We don't want, and you and I agree on this, we don't want our schools being the parents of our children. The parents of our children are the parents of our children. The school does not raise our children, the parents raise their children. The school provides that piece of the puzzle that allows our kids to learn, understand their communities and their science and their opportunities, their civics, and all of those things, um, and give them the opportunity to go out and be productive citizens. And that's what we want in a very basic way from our school. And if they're not giving it, then we need to provide choices for those students where
Yeah,
they have no choice.
and look, I get it, but in the meantime, yeah, and we're out of time here. We got to go to our next guest. But let me just say this: this is what's frustrating, and this is what I think you have a challenge. As you well know, an African American the from Houston, who is in the Texas House of Representatives, Harold Dutton, authored a bill that said if schools fail X number of times, that the State Board of Education can move in, the Education Commissioner can come in, sort of like a bankruptcy, right? And take over this school to improve the quality of education. What did the citizens of Houston do from the school district? They find a bunch of folks to sue the state. Harold Dutton, an African American, authored this bill that allows the State Board of Education. This is what we were arguing at our press conference.
Yeah, in
To
2018.
take over the school. This is an urban legislator that gets it, and he's given the schools the opportunity to succeed. But if they don't, he says, we, the state, are going to step in. Now they've sued the state of Texas, and it's now making its way through the courts, and it'll take years, Mano. But in the meantime, it's the children and the taxpayers that are suffering because they're stuck, as you say, in those schools. So you've got a lot of work ahead of you. We're going to move on to our next guest. I want to tell you, Mano, it's a beautiful day. So as soon as you get off the air here, you better go block walk.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And as I call it call to action. Tell us how people can find you and how people can help you.
Yes. Manoforstaterep.com. Of course, contributions are always welcome, but there's places to volunteer. If you sign up, there are ways that you can help. We appreciate any help we can get. I've been blessed, and I hope to be a blessing to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mano.
Thank you.
Gracias, Mano.
All right.
Hay suerte y bueno, vamos a seguirlo apoyando. And as Mano said, one of the cancers is the socialism, the communism, and also is getting into our schools. Another cancer is the media. So that's why I am so happy to announce our next guest, which is our dear friend, Willie Lora, that he also was with us, I believe, a year ago in our show. And he is the Senior VP and GM of Americano. And Americano is the nation first Spanish language conservative network that launched last week. And I am so happy to see this going on. This is the first time that we have a conservative network in Spanish, and is so far it's going to be in satellite radio. But Willie is going to tell us not only the plans that it's in place right now, but in the future. Willie, ¿cómo estás? Buenos días. Gracias por acompañarnos y qué felicidad, no solamente volverte a tener en el programa, pero con esta súper noticia, Americano Media.
Gracias, Orlando y Andrea. It's been crazy week. It's been exciting. We've been working on the project past, well, it started about 5 years, but seriously, in about a year and a half. The idea came about because of what you were saying. We need uh, right information. We don't need more fake news. We don't need uh, more programming of your brain with information. And it's like we decided that the community deserved more than that. We need to give right information. So what we're going to do is just bring in journalism back, bring in ethics and balance and responsibility as to what journalism is. I think that we lost that. The poll numbers that we're seeing reflects that. And what we thought about a half when we actually seriously thought about how we come out, how we come out, we agreed that we needed two things. We needed to bring people that have trust in the community, trust with our audience. We did that, and not only be a what we call before just a Mexican show, that's a Cuban show. No, this is a Hispanic network, center right, where we bring the right message, the right information, and we're engaging the community at that level. And I think that is the responsibility to serve our community, to use this tool as an educational tool and inform our community to make better decisions. Remember that a community that is misinformed is actually lacks in the power of the democracy. The strength of that democracy is that will allow people to make decisions based on the right information. And I think that's where our traditional networks have been failing, besides being politically influenced. So we at Americano, we're trying to do that. We had the partner in NLB, and we also, besides being on the internet and in SiriusXM, we have our apps, Americano Media, both for iPhone and Android. So we're gonna try to be, in so many platforms because we need this message to be heard. This is the first, like you were saying, conservative Spanish conservative network, and we are really to make sure that our community gets the right information.
Willie, first of all, we have a bad connection, so because I think what you have to say is very important. I'm gonna ask you if you can log off and log back in, and maybe we'll get a better connection because you're
Perfect.
breaking up quite a bit. But Willie's absolutely correct, and this is important. First of all, um, you know, because you're in the business,
Yeah.
and I know because I came from a communist country, the importance of a free media to be able to say whatever they want to say. But what happened is, at least in North America, is that the left took over in the editorial boardrooms, assignments editors, public higher education, editorial boardrooms. I've said all that, right?
Manipulating everybody's
So they
brain,
manipulate,
everybody's
and,
mind.
and so I don't necessarily want a right wing message. I just want the truth.
Yeah.
Tell us both sides
Not
of the
agenda.
story, not an agenda, and let us decide.
Correct.
And too much of what we get in the media nowadays has an agenda, as you say, Andrea. And it's sad. Willie, you're back, and I hope we have a better connection. I was
hope
just talking
a
about
better connection.
much better. I was talking to Andrea about the importance of, I don't want as a conservative to be fed conservative information. I want information. I want both sides of the story. I want to make my own decision. And beyond that, Willie, I was telling Andrea because she was in the industry for many years, and I came from a communist country.
And Willie as well.
Yeah.
And I want to really talk about that because I think we are agree on that the industry way before, I would say 15 years, 20 years ago, is not the media that we're seeing these days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you and I, Willie, we met back in that time.
Yes.
And that's why it's important to give people the perspective and why is I'm so happy that you guys launched this project, conservative Spanish, and talking about politics, but this is a result of what what a perfect timing that you guys launched
And what I was
this.
telling Andrea, Willie, is that I'm for a free press. I don't want the government to tell the press what to say. I want the press to be able to have an editorial opinion, present their side of the story. But when I get the information, Willie, I want both sides. I want information. And for too long, information in this country has been dominated. You know, I'm sorry to say this, but I think the left has infiltrated editorial boardrooms, assignments
Yes.
desks in this country, you know, major university journalism schools, and it's refreshing that Americano is now going to bring in Spanish information that I think the community needs. One more editorial comment, because I live in Houston, Texas. We have two major Spanish networks. Let me tell you that in the 1990s, both Telemundo and Univision used to cover city hall and local politics extensively. Because the community got that information, we had 6 city council members and a city controller that were Hispanic. Over the last few years, Willie, Telemundo and Univision have abandoned local politics. Yeah, they'll cover the crazy stuff and the train wrecks and the car wrecks and the stabbings and, you know, all that. But in terms of a deep dive into local politics, they've abandoned that. And the result is we only have one Hispanic on the Houston City Council because the community checks out. They don't get the information.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I think, you know, and Andrea was making the point, like, let's say 10 years ago, even 6 years ago, the landscaping of journalism, it doesn't even look the same. It has changed. It has become very political. It has become more business first, and then the responsibility of informing communities. And what we're trying to do is exactly what you're saying. We're trying to bring both sides of one issue. We want people to have the space to have a conversation about this, so we can make better decisions for our community, and then the community can be informed. I agree with 100%. You know, the lack of representation because our networks, traditional networks, abandoned those issues is a reflection of that. And what we try to do Americano is bring those things back, that we can connect with our community, that we can listen to our community, that we can inform us to what's going on, that they can make their own decisions. You know, that the issue for the past, let's say 4 or 5 years, has been heavily about politics because there's an agenda. There's a business agenda within it, and we are not going to go that route. We believe in the tool that we have will have an impact on how much we strengthen our democracy, and do we allow people to make their own decisions, get informed. And that's why we're going in every single platform. We want to talk to our community. If we want to give them the platform for them to express themselves, and you know, and we can work together. That's what we're here for. You know, we've seen in the past few years how the credibility of the networks are going down to the toilet because people just don't trust them anymore. You know, it's not information. It's propaganda, a lot of what we're saying. And censure, something that we have not seen to the level that we're seeing in the past few years. I remember in my days in Washington, that I'll give you an example. We'll take the Department for a photo op with some leader. And if we're not allowed to have one editorial presence, nobody can to it. But now the way it is like, if I don't agree with this narrative, then we as traditional press are going to censor this other news outlet because we don't agree editorial to what you're saying, or the story that is a completely true story. We're going to ban it because actually that affects our political affiliation, which is what we saw in 2020 with the story with the son of the president. So the things that we're seeing right now on traditional media is not even close to what we're looking at or seeing 10 years ago. So we came out and to say to the community, we are, even though we say we're conservative and conservative, we're the first journalist, and we have a responsibility to bring to the center to the conversation the center of the issue. We need to find consensus. We need, you know, this country was not only found but has developed because there's always been political consensus to better the country. Right now, that space is gone, and what we're trying to do is bring back that space so we can have that conversation and get the right information to our audience and to the communities, so that they make better decisions and actually strengthen the you know, how we are as a community and a country. And I think that's the core of what we're doing.
I want to ask you a question, and unfortunately, I think we have a bad connection. We're losing about 10% of what you're saying, but we're getting the gist of it. Tell me a little bit about. I'm sort of curious about the business perspective on Americano. Is this a private equity group that decided to invest in getting both sides of the story out? How did this come about? Or you're not part of a network that is publicly traded like NBC or anyone else. I mean,
No,
so
no.
give us the corporate structure.
Well, it's a private equity, because of my NDAs, and not allowed to discuss a lot of the financial aspect of the business. But it has nothing to do with the interest group. It has nothing to do with especially this money. It's a private entity that actually decided that we need to do this. That it was about time. Put together a good plan. Seeing the trending, where things are going, and how the community is being affected because of the fact that the other networks are going way too low in the process of doing not only misinformation, but what I was saying, a lot of the censor. So they realized that we needed something like this, and they worked together with us, and we put together a plan, and this is where we are. And I think that when we came out last week on the 8th, we probably surprised everybody. We kept it really tight. We didn't talk about what this was going to be. We didn't make it public so fast, or we're not leaking, because we want to create the impact that we did. It's like this is a new Spanish 24/7 network, and we are interested in bringing everybody together. Our group of shows will, represents the world: Spain, Central America, South America, the Caribbean, the U.S. It's been great working with all this group of new professionals and some of the names to bring the conservative world around and say, hey, we're not going to tell you to vote this way, that way, to think that way. This is what we believe is happening. We're going to give you facts on our news shows. We obviously have opinion shows, but our newscasts are back to the traditional newscasts. We need to inform our audience. We need to inform the community to what's going on, not only in their community, but around the world, because the internet right now, the way we consume content has already taken us global. We're not local anymore. So that's the understanding of bringing Hispanics from everywhere, not only in the U.S. and South and Central America, but also Spain and Israel. I think that's a great thing that we were able to bring together so many talented journalists and anchors to put together the kind of program that we right now.
Yeah, I'm seeing very, very familiar faces that I used to see a long, long time ago, and they're the real journalists, and I am so happy. So I was gonna ask you about exactly the content, the shows that you guys are putting together, and the quality of the staff, because not only you guys have journalists, but also I was talking to an attorney. You guys have an attorneys talking about politics and talking about law. So it's a combination between journalists and professionals in another industries.
Yes, because the thing is, like, the community is represented by all that. Not only journalists, but attorneys and doctors and all that, and have a story to tell, and they have a way to say it. I'll give you a quick run through our grid. Like in the morning, we have a 2-hour morning shows magazine type that covers the entire world, and talked about all kinds of different issues and have guests, and our anchors are one Colombia, one Venezuelan. Then after that show, we have a show called from the Dominican Republic that brings all the Caribbean stories. And then from there, we go to the South Cone, Cono Sur from Argentina. It's a show that talked about all the issues in South America. Then we have a look at the world with a show here out of Miami. And also another newscast with international news, which is host from El Salvador, which is new. And what we do in the U.S. by having a full hour news show anchor from Central America to the U.S. That's a really great product. And then we also have commentary shows like La Hora de la Verdad with Londoño from Colombia. We have a millennial show called Tech Talk, and we have a really good show called Entre Líneas, which is a show that looks at the traditional media and the way that they take the stories and spin it the way they do it. I think it's good that our community understand that we can teach them and show them what a news story is all about, and spin it and give it an angle They want people to believe one way to the story, but they're not giving you the facts. I think that's a very good show. Then we have shows like A Perspectiva USA, the perspective of the United States. Actualidad Noticiosa, what brings you up to speed with the main headline of the day around the world. We have their first and unique female anchor show on prime time to tackle all the heavy political issues of the country. We have a doctor in economy, an economist that is part of the show. We have two great journalists, Daniel Alexandrini, Lucia Navarro, and some other women that are doing that show, which is unheard of in Spanish television and Spanish media. And then we'll have Alfonso Aguilar from Washington, a very political show out of DC. And then we have our lovely Patricia Candiani from LA, Ana Patricia Candiani, that does show name Usted Que Cree. So we have a really broad and great with a lot of different shows covering the entire world, so that every single community can be represented in our grid. So, and so far it's been great. The reviews that we got has been great. You know, people were like, wow, this is the first network that we see that the main issue, even talked about Mexico, but it's not only Mexico. You know, we cover the entire world, entire communities, you know, from the South going all the way to Canada. So that's very refreshing and appealing, because immigration in the U.S., as you see, continues to grow from people from everywhere around the world. I think we need to make sure that those people are served with the right information.
Willie, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're busy. I wish we had a better connection, because I think what you've got to deliver is very important. Maybe we can have you back on the program. But congratulations. Definitely. And I think that Andrea, I think the programming is absolutely marvelous idea, because not only is Americano offering information to people in North America, but I didn't know, as Willie just explained, that they're covering Spain, they're covering Latin America, Colombia, Mexico,
El Salvador.
And the reason that's important is because a lot of these leftist organizations originate from our countries.
Correct.
You know, they come with that mentality that you know, that government is corrupt, that the government has to provide them housing and provide them food and government gives you opportunities and it provides you basic needs in the events of emergencies. But here in this country, it's our own initiatives. And so it's going to be delivering that message throughout Latin America, and God knows the Spanish need it too over in Spain. But, you know, I was just thinking, as the cartels in Latin America and especially in Mexico try to stifle free press by assassinating reporters, this is a base to get good information out to Latin American countries.
Correct.
Because the cartels know they can't come here and randomly assassinate our reporters.
And the beauty of this is, you know, you have access to a satellite, so everybody can listen to that. And also, I'm assuming that if you go to the website, you can also listen it and watch it. How did that work, Willie?
On our website, americanomedia.com, you can actually listen to the live broadcast, and you can actually download the apps for Samsung or iPhone, and you can have it 24/7. Besides being on satellite radio, so I think that's the key, that we can reach as many people as possible. The stories and the shows that we produce, and also we were talking about having Spain being part of this is great, because you know that Spain has the leftist government, a socialist government, and we are making sure that the message is also heard, because the Spaniards are asking for this. They need this kind of information that is produced in the U.S. in Spanish, that they can place it out there in Spain. And I think that's a great opportunity for us to unite La Hispanidad like we know it. So that's the goal.
All right, Willie. Well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to have you guys back and some of your anchors back on the program soon.
Willie, mil gracias por tu tiempo, y de verdad felicitaciones a ti y a todo el equipo. Qué gran labor y qué súper proyecto, así que también estaremos apoyándolos cuando ustedes nos necesiten.
Y un
beso.
Un servicio que se necesita mucho, porque la información que están dando es información que muchos no han escuchado anteriormente,
¿Sí?
porque nos dan la información que quieren, un reportero medio izquierdista.
Y sobre
pero
todo en español,
en
a eso vamos. En
español, en los
español nos
idiomas
dan
de
más
nosotros.
información izquierdista que en inglés.
Claro.
Entonces, tener esa plataforma que te está dando un balance, porque lo que Willie está diciendo, sí somos conservadores, pero estamos dando un balance. Le estamos diciendo a la gente, escoge tú.
Tú decides.
Tú decides. Y no solamente están entrevistando a candidatos o personas con pensamiento conservador, están entrevistando a todo el mundo y que den sus puntos de vista, facts, lo que se llaman facts, y simplemente los hechos. Aquí están, tú decides qué quieres, pero te estoy dando todo, las dos plataformas, no solamente la que yo quiero que tú escuches.
Ya, y ahora me recuerdo hablando en español tanto que tuvimos un mensaje por Facebook la semana pasada
Oh, sí,
pidiéndonos que hiciéramos el programa
en español.
Y no sabemos cómo vamos a hacer eso.
¿Sabes qué?
Pudiéramos
Había
agregar-
pensado yo hacer media hora en inglés y media hora en español para tener una hora y hacerlo bilingüe. Porque sabes que ya, si la gente lo está pidiendo, mira lo que está pasando con Americano. Es una plataforma en español. Si la gente está pidiendo que nuestro programa también sea en español, me parece muy importante porque estamos, pues se llama Texas Latino Conservatives. Y hay muchos latinos conservadores que prefieren, aunque hablen inglés, prefieren escuchar el contenido o ver el contenido en español.
No, y también me da la oportunidad de aprender un poco de español. Para que tú seas la maestra.
Para que
porque
sea
yo soy
la
el maestro
sí,
en
por
inglés.
favor, dame un break.
Entonces tú te conviertes a mi maestra en español.
Exactamente.
Y me ayudas porque tengo un poco de rumbre en la mente hablando español.
No, sí hablas bien, sí hablas bien. Te puedes
Pero
comunicar.
bueno, sabemos y hemos recibido sus mensajes que quieren que hagamos el programa en español y tratamos de adivinar cómo podemos lograr eso.
Sí, vamos
Así
a
que
buscar la forma para ver.
manténganse con paciencia ahí, vamos a adivinar algo y posiblemente hacemos un programa media hora en español, media hora en inglés. Pero hay muchas personas también que hablan inglés que quieren aprender a hablar español.
También.
Así que there you go.
That will be good.
So for those that wanting to learn Spanish, you can watch half our program in Spanish, and for those Spanish speakers, they can learn how to speak English.
Our producer has been learning a little bit.
He has. He's going to be bilingual by next year.
Un poquito, dice.
Poquito. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. Appreciate Willie being with us. I'm sorry we had a bad connection, but hey, it's modern technology. There's not much we can do about it, but we'll have him back. Remember, we're going to be in San Antonio, Texas on April the 5th for a lunch honoring our tough Tejano. We're celebrating Tejano Day in Texas, which is actually April 6th. So the day before, we're going to be there. We also have, we will be in San Antonio during Fiesta. And Fiesta is a big deal in San Antonio. And so in 2020, we were going to go to San Antonio and we produced some medals. People collect medals. And so we'll have those for you. So it'll be very unique. It'll be a collector item. We weren't able to pass those out. We have some beautiful medals we're going to be passing out. So if you're interested in joining us and watching Chingo Bling, having lunch with the governor, meeting our co-chairs for the event, which is Charlie Amato and Hope Andrade and former Congressman Henry Bonilla, make sure you go to toughtejano.com. Tejano.com. Buy your tickets or sponsor a table and bring some young conservative Latinos with you. It'll be a great afternoon. Then don't forget that Cinco de Mayo, which is May 5th in Houston, we are bringing Gary Hobbs, a great Tejano band out of Eagle Pass, Texas, down in Maverick County, to the West Wind Club off of Gun, G-U-H-N, Gun Road near 290. You can get tickets. They're free. Free tickets. You'll get 2 adult beverages when you sponsored by our great sponsors, which are some of the Miller distributors here in the Houston area. And the tickets are free. That website isn't up. Just monitor Texas Latino Conservatives and go to events, and we'll have a site where you can download your tickets. They're free. And so make sure that you join us Cinco de Mayo and have an adult beverage with us, una cervecita. Y la famosa Andrea Gómez va a estar
Y vayan
ahí.
a ver a Andrea, parece circo, ya tú dijiste, vayan a ver a Andrea. Well, thank you so much. Muchísimas gracias por haber estado con nosotros, habernos acompañado en esta hora. Thank you so much for being with us this hour, and please visit us in texaslatiноconservatives.com, texaslatiноconservatives.com. You're going to find all the links for the Tough Tejano Awards and also Leadership Latino, all the information that we have to offer, and of course you're going to see all the links to watch our shows in case that you missed it live. You can watch it also on YouTube. And become a member. It's only $35 a year. Become a member or give us your contribution.
Thank you all. See you next week.
Nos vemos el próximo miércoles.